Welcome everybody to the Elizabethtown City Council regular meeting for September 6, 2022, and I'd like to ask Councilman Virgil Willoughby if he'd lead us in the invocation.
Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and Lord, we just thank you for your goodness. Lord, we know that you give life and breath to each of us. And so Lord, we pause just to give you thanks. Lord, we thank you for this city. Lord, I thank you for the leadership of years gone by, and Lord, for those that are gathered here today. Lord, just pray your blessing upon each one that's here, those that are visiting as well as those that work for the city. Lord, bless the mayor and our council. We make decisions, may it be pleasing in your sight. For it's in your name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business will be approval of minutes for August 22nd, 2022. If I can get a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you, Councilman Fulkerson.
Knew you had more important things to do.
I do. As you all know, and you've heard me say it before, one of the best honors that I have being in this position is to recognize people that are very important to our community. And we have a young lady here with us tonight who turned 95 years young yesterday. And it's somebody that we are very proud of. She's been a crown jewel of the city of Elizabethtown for quite some time, and that's Mrs. Mary Lois Smith. She's accompanied by her daughter, Catherine Smith, and Mrs. Wynn Brandenburg. And I also want to make a special introduction for Mayor Pat Durbin, who is also here to recognize Mrs. Smith. And Mayor Durbin, if you would walk up and say a few things about her, I would really appreciate it.
This is the first time I've been in the city council for a long, long time.
Welcome back.
For a good reason. I come here and got argued.
Hold that while you talk, if you don't mind. You've got your own microphone. That way HCEC.
We didn't have cell phones when I was working. Okay, we're good. Well, I'm not supposed to be here. My husband's supposed to be here, but he fell. And I don't know if he did it on purpose because he was scared to come or he fell. But he did fall and he had a really bad bump on his back. So he's not walking very well. But I'm here to just tell you all a few things I know about Mary Lois Smith. And I've known her for not all 95 years of hers, but many, many years. We've been friends for a long, long time. She and Miss Lottie were my husband's favorite girls at school, and they worked together. So I wrote this down. He actually gave me what he would like to say about you, Mary Lois. Can you believe that? Okay. But I wanted to just talk about Jean first. Her husband's name was Jean, and Hayden and Jean were really good friends. They'd visited with each other and everything. Jean was sick quite a while before he passed, and you were such a good wife to him. And you all were good kids to you and your brother. And of course, Catherine was one of our students at school for years. And then her brother, Derek, I know you're proud of him too because he just retired. He recently retired from the United States military. He was in the Air Force, in the Army. That's right, he was in the Army. And he's been honored here in our school as a student who was a special student in our school. He was that was special. But Hayden and Miss Mary Lois worked together for 20 years, and it's hard to believe, but they never had a crossword. He said they never had a crossword, and I said, boy, I wish we could have done that, but we haven't. But she was one of the finest teachers in our school system for many, many years. And before she was a teacher at school, she was a social worker for us. But she worked as a police officer, cross guard at the schools. And the kids loved her there. They loved her at Valley View. She was like a second mother to most of them. But they did work together for 20 years, and it was just amazing. I said, he said, and I can't believe it, because Mary Lois she would speak her piece if she had to speak it, but she always agreed with Hayde about the end of the discussion that you had. He said she was a wonderful person with whom to work. But I was going to say, y'all had a little joke going. When one of the kids would misbehave, Mary Lois might say, Mr. Durbin, you need to take care of your children. And then if it was another one of the kids, he'd say, Mary Lois, you need to take care of your children too. So they would just have, that was back before racial problems became, because they were just good friends, best friends still. She would pick the kid. These are some things that he said about her that he just loved about her. Sometimes he'd have kids whose parents wouldn't get up and get them to school. She'd go get them. She'd go get them. She'd put them in her car. She'd take them up to the cafeteria in the back door. She'd take them through the cafeteria, put them through the back door, feed them, send them on the way to school. They send them on to class, send them on the way to classroom. And you did it for how many years, Mary Lois? All those years, didn't you? I can't remember. But as she said, there were just so many things to listen, and I know y'all don't want to listen to me, but I want to tell you about the coat closet. He said she must have satisfied 200 kids with clothes over the years from their closet, so they would have nice clothes to go to school. She'd go in there and pick them out and fix them up for them, and they'd come out looking like $100 bills. So she was good to them. They loved her, and they still love you to this good day, don't they, Mary Lois?
Yes, indeed.
It was, so she cared. That's the thing about it. I don't know, I guess they do, but I'm not a teacher anymore. But if you don't care about kids, you don't need to be in teaching. You just don't need to be in teaching. Because the way you treat them is more important than what you teach them. I mean, that's what you're teaching, the way they're treated and cared for. A funny thing, Haight said, and tell it. He hated to tell it, but it's the truth. A lot of people thought that Haight was responsible for the success at Valley View. And the truth is, she was the anchor at school. she kept everything in order, and she was a wonderful, wonderful workmate. And I don't know about you all. As a retired teacher, I know about myself. I cannot remember telephone numbers from my fellow workers. From the day that he got Mary Lois's telephone number, he still remembers it to this day. That's the only one outside our family that he knows, but he knows Mary Lois's number. And by the way, if y'all want to call her, it's 270-765-2059. And I asked him, I said, hey, you might want to tell her that. He said, yeah, 765. Yeah, he said, yeah, I know, that's it, right. So you were a special co-worker. You were a great leader and a lifelong friend. It was an honor for him and a privilege to work with a good friend and maintain a family relationship. On a scale of 0 to 10, just because you're 95, now listen, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being low, Mary Lois was a 15.5. Mary Lois, may God continue to bless you. You're a wonderful Christian woman, and we all love you. I want to talk some more.
Well, you can keep it if you want. So, Mrs. Smith, we have a proclamation from my office and the City Council, if I could read it to you real quick. City of Elizabethtown proclamation from the office of the Mayor, Mary Lois Smith, will celebrate her 95th birthday on 9/5 of 2022, and whereas Mrs. Smith attended Kentucky State College starting in 1945 and moved to Elizabethtown in 1952. In 1955, she became the first black female police officer for the city of Elizabethtown, and she began her 30-year career in the Elizabethtown school system as a truancy officer, but helped children in so many ways, to include clothing, feeding, and health care. And whereas she has displayed genuine concern and service to the community by serving as a founding member of the following boards: Helping Hand of Hope, Wesley Hilltop House, and Lincoln Village. And whereas Mrs. Smith received the Lucy Harth Smith Atwood S. Wilson Award for Civil and Human Rights and Education from the Kentucky Education Association, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Hardin County branch of the NAACP. And whereas the City of Elizabethtown wants to acknowledge, recognize, and show appreciation to Mary Lois Hardin Smith for all of her good deeds, kindness to others, and community-oriented leadership and citizenship, to include her ability and willingness to work with everyone. And whereas Mrs. Smith lives by a favorite quote: "Pray God that you accept the bits and pieces in humility and wonder, and never question and never regret." Now therefore I, Jeffrey H. Gregory, Mayor of the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, by virtue of the authority vested in me, am honored to hereby proclaim yesterday, your birthday, September 5th, 2022, Mary Lois Smith Beacon of Light Day. So congratulations. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything you've done for me. And I've got one more thing. Just in case we need you for anything else, I got a key for you to get in every door in the city, I hope. I don't know, I haven't tried it, but you. So that is a key to the city from myself and the council, and I hope that you'll display that proudly. And there's a little cover for you too, and it's got your name on it.
Thank you.
And finally, Chief Thompson, our Chief of Police for the Elizabethtown Police Department's got a presentation that he'd like to make to you too.
I know it's hard to believe, but I was not in this picture and didn't work at the PD in 1955 when you were down there. But we wanted to say happy birthday, and that's a very belated thank you for your service to the Elizabethtown Police Department. And if you recognize that photograph.
Yes, I do.
But
yes.
we had, I apologize, the other one's faded. We couldn't find a better quality one, but we wanted to present just a small token of our appreciation for your service to us and the city. And then again, thank you for being here, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank all of you. And I remember those ladies too. We went in the same time and with a whatever the word is right now. We were honored the same day. And I can't remember the names because I've got no one, I can't remember names. But we were very close and worked together close.
Well, we don't have a whole lot, unfortunately, of photographs, group photographs, but we just happen to have the one with you in here with those ladies out in front of, I'm not even sure which building. You might recognize that building.
City Hall, isn't it?
It may be.
That
It
time?
predates me just a couple years, so. In courthouse.
Yes, I remember the courthouse, and I remember the workers, and also I know that, I'm not asking for it, but one time you had my picture up there by myself. Each one of us had a clipping by ourselves. Now, where's my clipping?
I've got some scissors and I can clip that one out.
No. This is fine, this is fine.
We'll see if we can come up with that though.
We've got a few detectives down there. I'm gonna put a detective on it looking for that clipping.
I just want to bring a little laughter, but thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. Happy
Appreciate
birthday.
this very much.
You have anything you want to say?
Other than
You
looking
got
for that
talking to the microphone like Mary Darby.
Oh, I have enjoyed being invited here, and some of you I have known through the years. I'm looking around. Some of you have known him, and I've known you. I can't get your name right now, but I do forget names, but I know faces. And I want you to know I really appreciate being invited for this honor. I enjoyed doing what I was doing at the time, and I appreciate that I was invited at that time to do the work. And I continue to do it according to what the Lord had asked me to do. And whatever I do now, I still work for the Lord. And I'm so glad that I do. And I hope and pray that you are working for the Lord also. So thank you so very much. I could keep on talking, but you don't want me to do that. But thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
ma'am.
coming. Happy birthday. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes. I have a flower garden at my house, and some of you have seen it. How many of you gone by my house?
I have multiple times.
My garden. I want you to know it is mine because it's at my house. But my daughter is the one who has brought that here from, where'd you bring? South Bend. And she had put out the garden of beautiful flowers, and we want you all to come by and see it. It gives me an honor to know that I've got it in my yard. So thanks, all of you. When you do come, I'm thanking you ahead of time.
So now we can come see your flowers and we know your phone number.
Yes.
No, I'm not asking her that. We'll start with ordinance number 25, 2022, setting franchise tax rate on all eligible bank deposits as defined in KRS Chapter 136. Judge Howard.
This is an ordinance that I'll read in full, which is the nature of the ordinance. Be it ordained by the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, so as follows. There is hereby imposed on all financial institutions
as defined by law located within the city of Elizabethtown for the 2022 tax year, a franchise tax at the rate of 0.025% on all eligible deposits as defined by KRS Chapter 136, maintained by such financial institutions. That all taxes hereby levied shall become due and payable as provided by law, together with special levies heretofore made for street improvements. If any tax bill is not paid on or before January 1 of 2023, said tax bill shall be declared delinquent and shall bear interest at the rate of 6% per annum or 0.5% per month or fraction thereof until paid. In addition, the penalty of 10% of the amount of tax for general purposes and special assessment shall be added to said bill and collected, being the penalty for non-payment when due. It is further ordained that in the event any such tax bill shall be paid during the month of October of 2022 or November 2022, a 2% discount shall be allowed by the Elizabethtown Director of Finance. Be it further ordered, the mayor of the city of Elizabethtown and/or his designee is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, and this will constitute a first reading of this ordinance.
Any discussion? Let's keep moving on the tax ordinances then, and then we'll go back to the civil service one.
Okay.
Ordinance number 26, 2022, setting 2022 tax rate for real and personal property. Judge Howard.
Be it ordained by the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance as follows: that an ad valorem tax of 11.6 cents on each $100 assessed value of all real estate and tangible personal property taxable for municipal purposes in the city of Elizabethtown be, and the same is hereby levied for the purposes of raising revenue to pay salaries of officers and employees of said city of Elizabethtown, to pay for repairs and maintenance of streets and public ways, and public and other property of the city, to pay for lighting of the streets, the maintenance and operation of fire and police departments, and all other proper and legal demands against the city. Number two, that all taxes hereby levied shall be due and payable on December 1st of 2022 as provided by law. And if any tax bill is not paid by December 31st of 2022, said tax bill will be declared delinquent and shall owe a penalty of 5% if paid by January 31st of 2023. In addition, a penalty of 21% of the amount of tax will be owed for bills paid after January 31st of 2023. Additional penalties and interest will accrue once the Hardin County Sheriff's Office transfers delinquent tax bills to the Hardin County Clerk as required by KRS Chapter 134. General purposes and special assessments shall be added to said tax bill and collected, being the penalty for non-payment when due. Item 3, that a discount of 2% shall be allowed on that portion of the tax bill for general purposes if paid by November 30th of 2022. Item 4, that the ad valorem tax bill will be mailed by first-class mail to the property owners as of January 1st of 2022, as provided by the Hardin County Property Valuation Administrator. Item 5, that the payment of the ad valorem tax bill can be received by mail at the Hardin County Sheriff's Office at 150 North Provident Way, Suite 101, Elizabethtown, Kentucky, or in person at the Hardin County Government Building at the same address. This ordinance shall be effective on or after its adoption, publication, and posting as provided by law. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city of Elizabethtown and/or his designee is authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance. Again, this is a first reading in full of the ordinance.
And then, any discussion on that? And then finally, ordinance number 27, 2022, setting tax rate for all motor vehicle and watercraft. Judge Howard.
Be it ordained by the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance as follows: that an ad valorem tax of 11.6 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation of all motor vehicles and watercrafts taxable for municipal purposes in the city of Elizabethtown be, and same is hereby levied as of January 1st of 2023 for the purpose of raising revenue to pay salaries of officers and employees of the city, to pay for repairs and maintenance of streets, public ways, the public and other property of the city, to pay for lighting the streets, the maintenance and operation of fire and police departments, and all other proper and legal demands against the city. This tax will be collected by the Hardin County Clerk. This ordinance shall be effective on or after the adoption, publication, and posting as provided by law, and be it further ordained by the mayor of the city of Elizabethtown and/or his designee is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. And again, this will be the first reading.
Any discussion on that?
Mayor, these represent 15 years.
No?
I thought I'd say it was all done.
I was gonna actually use it when we voted on it, but I'm glad you jumped in there and said that.
Just make note of it.
So in all seriousness though, for you and for Councilman Fulkerson and Councilman Bishop that were there when these rates were set, I think in 08, 09, somewhere in that ballpark, they did a great job and got the numbers right, because every council and every mayor has been able to work within those confines, if you will, and produce what we produce for the city of Elizabethtown. So my hat's off to you all. It doesn't mean that they may not be adjusted one day, because we never know what the future holds, but they did a pretty good job back when these were set in 15, 16 years ago, and we've been working off of them ever since and still have not changed them. So it's pretty impressive in my opinion. So hats off to you two and those councils and those mayors at the time. We'll go back to ordinance number 24, 2022, amending ordinance number 22, 2019, relating to the rules and regulations for the Civil Service Commission regarding the police department and the fire department. Mr. Howard.
This will be a first reading by summary. This ordinance continues Civil Service Ordinance number 22 of 2019 for current police and fire civil service employees, but will discontinue civil service for any new employees for police and fire departments of the city of Elizabethtown as of the effective date of this ordinance. The text of the full ordinance can be found on the city's website or by contacting the city clerk. And again, this is a first reading by summary only.
Chief Thompson, if you would, can you jump in real quick and tell what the benefits will be for the police department so they have a full understanding of why we're wanting to take this action and head in a different direction?
Yes, sir. I'd like to begin by thanking our current and former members of the Civil Service Board, because they do an excellent job helping us out with our selection process, our promotion process, the new hire oral board interviews that we conduct, and they're a tremendous help to us. But the current setup prohibits us from hiring a single applicant if we have a single opening. We have to have a +1, and depending on the number of applicants, a +2. And it's a much antiquated and just cumbersome process. It's just not a simple process. It puts us behind other departments in a very competitive hiring market right now. So what this will enable us to do is, if we do have that single opening, if we have 2 or 3 bodies available, and we have an officer that's currently certified somewhere else, and they came to me and said, hey, I see you have an opening and love to work for you, we can begin that process without worrying about, do we have enough applicants on the list? Do we have to start an entire new process? Essentially, we're hiring 24/7 at that point. And with the growth that we're currently experiencing, about to experience, that will make us a hiring-friendly department. And again, in a very competitive market, it doesn't have us jumping over hurdles, trying to hire 5 and 6 at a time and getting this large applicant pool, only to be able to pick 1 to 2 of those. Because unfortunately, what we've seen is the length of time that our current process takes. Many of our applicants are applying at different agencies trying to find a job in law enforcement. And by the time our lengthy process comes back full circle, they've already found employment elsewhere or moved on to something else. So again, it's worked for many years, but now it's just, it's a different market, and we need to adjust to that market. And Judge Howard has done a phenomenal job at helping us make that happen. And we think this will be very much an equalizing factor for us as we move forward to hire new personnel.
Many other municipalities made these changes.
We are one of 2 civil service departments in the state of Kentucky right now, and
We follow the old.
That follow the current makeup of the civil service, and I believe it's Eastern Kentucky, is that correct? I know it's somewhere east of here.
Yeah, the trend, I've discussed this with the Kentucky League of Cities, and obviously the trend is to go away from the civil service because, again, the hiring environment that we're currently in is just not conducive to that. And so there are few, I would say, outside of Lexington, Louisville, they kind of have their own, police unions and their own set of rules. But city of our size that have civil service, I can't think of any. Frankly, they're much smaller as a general rule of thumb.
Up to this point, have you seen that you've run into problems with hiring? I'm assuming that's why you're bringing this forward, because we've missed out on probably some quality hires.
Yes, sir. It's the timing. We went and started to call back some of the folks that had applied for our department when our process became right. And we were ready to move forward with the next step because we had enough applicants for the number of positions that we had. And by the time we got those numbers to meet that algorithm, a lot of the phone calls we made, they were either working or in final stages with other departments. So we missed otherwise qualified candidates. And I will say that there was a time when civil service was probably at its highest effectiveness, was probably before there were laws that protected applicants in a process. But now the Police Officers' Bill of Rights has come around. A lot of KRS Chapter 15, these protections for disciplinary, for hiring, firing, promotions, they're now all law. And we're governed by more than just the civil service. So it's almost just outlived its usefulness. In my opinion, it has. But again, it's not that it didn't work in the past, but to hire the number we're potentially going to be looking at, this is just, it's not a most efficient way to do it, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I'd also just note for your information that by law, for our current employees, this does not change anything for them. Our current police and fire department employees, they have what we would call vested rights in the civil service system, and so it only applies to new hires going forward. So we'll probably have a need for the Civil Service Commission for the next 15, 20 years.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to second reading without objection of ordinance number 23, 2022, amending the official zoning map for property located at 1670 North Mile Street. Judge Howard.
This will be a second reading by summary. This ordinance amends the official zoning classification for property located at 1670 North Mile Street from Urban Residential Limited, or R3, to Urban Residential General, which is R4, to allow for construction of a 162-lot, single-family residential subdivision. This change was recommended by the Elizabethtown Planning Commission and approved by the Elizabethtown City Council, as it was found to be in agreement with the city's comprehensive plan. Again, the full text of the ordinance is available on the city's website or by contacting the city clerk. This is a second reading and is available for your consideration at this time.
Any discussion?
I just have to say this was the third try on this development, and I think it showed that the process definitely works as far as letting people have a say in what's allowed to develop and forcing the developer to respond to what neighbors and the community needs. I think this will be a great development, and housing is way overdue. And so I'm glad this is, well, I guess I'm already telling you how I'm voting, but anyway, I think it's a good thing.
And
We need it.
what fits our comprehensive plan?
Yes, and it fits nicely in our comprehensive plan.
If I could get a motion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
Councilmember Bishop.
Yes.
Councilmember Deneen.
Yes.
Councilmember Fulkerson.
Yes.
Councilmember Springsteen.
Yes.
Councilmember Willoughby.
Yes.
Motion carries. Which brings us to municipal order number 71, 2022, accepting bid for Cherokee Boulevard sewer replacement. Judge Howard.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown held on the date set out below, after first being read, a motion to adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the City of Elizabethtown wishes to provide proper service to customers through the replacement or repair of sanitary sewer in the Cherokee Boulevard area, and whereas the city prepared bid documents and received public bids on August the 24th of 2022 for the Cherokee Sanitation Sewer Replacement Project, now be it ordered that the City of Elizabethtown accept the bid from Bobby Luttrell and Sons LLC for the Cherokee Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project in the amount of $137,850. This would be contract number 53 of 2022, as it was determined to be the best qualified bid. Be it further ordered, the mayor of the city and/or his designee is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, including but not limited to signing all agreements, contracts, documents, and obtaining the necessary permits and approving change orders in an aggregate amount not to exceed $13,785. Read, adopted, and approved the 6th day of September of 2022.
And Michael Page is here. If you have any questions, he loves to answer them.
It was the only bid we got, so it may have been determined to be the best qualified bid by being the only bid. But is that price range that you were thinking?
Yeah, it's under budget. We budgeted 150,000.
I already named him Employee of the Year, didn't I?
And I wasn't expecting too many bids anyway. I was like,
This is specialized, isn't it?
It is. It's a pipe bursting. There's not many that do that in this region, but it's an effective way to improve the sanitary sewer system.
Don't tell the rest, still my favorite employee.
Anybody else? Need a motion and a second, please.
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries, which brings us to municipal order number 72, 2022, authorizing contract from Geotechnical Services at Freeman Lake Park. Mr. Howard.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown held on the date set out below, after first being read, a motion to adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the city has contracted with CMW Inc. for the preparation of design plans for the development of tennis courts, pavilion, playground, and parking lot within Freeman Lake Park, and whereas the city will need to perform geotechnical investigation of the potential project sites for the construction of various structures. Now be it ordered, the City of Elizabethtown approve contract with ECS Southeast LLP for professional geotechnical investigation services for the south end of Freeman Lake Park in an amount not to exceed $7,150. This would be contract number 54 of 2022. Be it further ordered, the mayor of the city and/or his designee is authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, including signing all agreements, contracts, and documents. Read, adopted, and approved the 6th day of September of 2022.
Any discussion? Need a motion and a second, please.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. This brings us to public comments. Seeing none of those, city council information items.
I haven't mentioned this in a while, but the second Saturday food distribution at Memorial Methodist is coming up on the 10th, and Feed America and all other partner agencies have had a lot higher demand in the last few months, and so if anybody needs some help with groceries, they need to go by Memorial Methodist Saturday morning between 8 and 10, and I think there's going to be some fresh produce at this one as well, so it'll be a good stop if anybody needs some help.
Anybody else? I want to thank you all for letting us have the opportunity to recognize Mrs. Mary Lois Smith. I think, like I said, she's a real crown jewel in our community, and we're blessed to have people like that, and I think it's very important that we honor those that set the groundwork before we've gotten to the positions that we're in, and that we respect that and appreciate that. So I was glad that she came up here. I do want to tell you all, and this is going to embarrass her or them, but the proclamations and the keys to the city and the different things that I get to give out, Jessica Graham is the driving force behind especially the proclamations, and she writes those and does a great job with keeping up with those as our city clerk, and she's probably the best in the state as far as I'm concerned. And of course, Amy Inman does a great job on the marketing and the social media and the different things about letting people know what we're doing here in Elizabethtown. And then of course, Kelly Johnson up there is our executive assistant, does wonderful things for our office as well. And I think Ken and Ed and Terry and everybody else that use their services, because they're exceptional at what they do, would say the same thing. So they don't get a lot of praise a lot of time for a lot of the work that they do, but I want to say publicly how much that I appreciate them. So
They're under budget too, Michael.
So with that, yeah, I didn't say anything about you, Michael. I was just talking about the ladies.
I know, I was just like,
I'll get you later. So they make us look good is what I'm getting at, and I appreciate them. Anybody else? Okay, with that, and I know you all are going to love this, but we are going to close meeting.
Yes, I forgot to thank Don Hill Public Works, crosswalk painting over there on French Street. So thank him for that.
Don's good with the brush in his hand. All right, so we'll go close meeting pursuant to KRS 61.810, Section 1, to conduct deliberation on future acquisition or sale of real property by the city, to discuss personnel which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student, and to discuss specific economic development proposals. If I can get a motion in a second, please.
Motion.
Second.
That sound begrudgingly. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries, and we will not have any action. Cody or Gina? Thank you all.